Well, hello, friends and neighbors. John, your neighbor here. Welcome to the Nook. And it's Sunday, so we're going to shoot some samples. And yesterday, I had a little taste of Bushmills 16 and 12 year, which made me think of some Irish. And so then I actually was craving some Irish pot still whiskey. And I am very thankful to Sean Darkcloud, who has sent me a number of Irish whiskey samples. So what I got here today, I've just poured out. I've got Louisville Barton and Chateau Montelena, and then Quails Gate. These are all different finishes of Green Spot. Green Spot is, yes, it's sourced whiskey, but by a wine merchant, a whiskey merchant that's been around for such a long time. In the Spot series of whiskeys, Yellow Spot is a core favorite of mine. And I think this will be a lot of fun just walking through. Okay, so we've got Green Spot, which is an ex-bourbon, ex-sherried pot still whiskey, and then finished various times and lengths in different casks. So if you have any Green Spot, why don't you pour that? If you don't have any Green Spot, anything finished in some French wine or something like that, I think might be fun to sip along. 3, 4. Thanks for coming back. For samples, I've just poured them out. I haven't had these now. Not the Quails Gate. I've never had. Is it the Montelena? I've had one of these before in a sample, but I actually really can't recall. So this will just be sipping and talking with you. So the first one I've got, and they're all, Green Spot. The liquid is the core pot still is aged in ex-bourbon, and a portion is aged in ex-sherry. It is a pot still whiskey, very unique to Ireland. So that is where there's malted and unmalted barley in the mash. And then they distill that. Ratios I don't actually know. That would be kind of cool to know. But distinctly Irish, distilled in nice copper pots. But that mix of malted and unmalted to beat the tax man. So the first one we're going to look at, this Green Spot, is the Louisville Barton. It is French oak cask, finished in those casks. And like all of these, I'll try to remind us as we go, is 46%, and it's beautifully non-chill filtered. So Green Spot, Louisville Barton on the nose. That's a good Irish pot still. With this Green Spot, I should say, I do get some orchard fruits up front, some nice cut apples, some pear, just that core fruit nose, but there is already a bit of a spice in here. Like a little, not quite peppering, but an oakiness, a husky dustiness a little bit. Yeah. That's pretty good on the nose. Let's get into the palate. Sláinte. It's a really nice finish on Green Spot. For me, I'm going to go back into that, a little bit of almost nuttiness I get with that unmalted barley, a little bit of cereal, a bit of barley in there. But it really picks up the spicing and the extra flavoring from those wine casks. It's a little more, maybe a bit of almond, a bit of, boy, what is that other fruit note in there? But it is a broader fruit palette. It's a little spicier, a little nuttier, but a little richer too. Better have another quick sip. I don't like to say a tasting note is, man, that's good whiskey, but it's tasty. I'm still getting some nice oak structure and a little bit of almond with cut orchard fruits, but a bit of a spicing palette too. Not like hot peppery, but a little more perky, a little bit of, it's not really speaking cinnamon, but something like that kind of perks up. It gets a little spicy on the palate. Wow, I have to watch how much I talk with my hands. I saw a review of this about a year ago from Big Al, and I know he was really enjoying it. And at the time, I could tell that was a good whiskey, and this is fantastic. It is an excellent pot still, nice and spicy, a little more oak, a little more. Now it kind of backs off a little bit in the slightly longer finish, and leaves me with a wonderful fruit-forward, balanced palate. You know, there is a little bit of light cherry in there. I wasn't getting it at first, but I'm getting it now in the quite long finish. So some of the fruiting is not just orchard. There is a little bit of cherry. So I wonder if some of the casks aren't a darker red wine, because now I'm getting a little bit of that red wine. Great start to this sample flight. So the second one I have up here from Dark Cloud is the Chateau Montelena. Now this one is Zinfandel wine cask. I'm going to assume it's a red Zinfandel, but either way, it'll be French oak again that's had Zinfandel wine. I think the website actually had a length of time on this one. Shoot. Could have been 12 months, somewhere in there. I'll put it down below, but this one actually told us, of course, the wine type, but also the length of time, the finishing. Starts with the same core ex-bourbon, ex-sherry, and then it is finished in this Zinfandel wine. So let's give this a try. Nose and taste. Boy, that is different on the nose. It's almost a little more sour. This continues to be a little more spicy. So the same core, orchard, fruit, pear, sweetness is there, but there's something cutting it. So maybe after I have a sip, I'll come back to the nose, because right now they're actually quite similar, a little less spice, but it's almost I'm not quite there, but some kind of slightly soured fruit, not in an off way, but just something else, not quite citrus, maybe. Let's give it a taste. Sláinte. That's quite different in the palate. If it's not soured, it's sharper. So, what would be sharper? It's not really speaking citrus. Maybe a green apple. And now in the finish, if we here, I did have maybe a light cherry. More just a richer, a little bit of nut here. This is maybe, what's a sharper, it's not quite as dark as a blackberry, but I just recently had some fresh blackberries and they are tart, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's I'll be Albertan, a slight rhubarb, a slight tartness. Like what would that be? Maybe cranberry. Cranberry's not that sweet of a berry. So something that's got a little more pucker and a little bit of tartness. So whatever it is that to your palate, like something that definitely, now I've said it out loud, and I'm quite sure I've never used rhubarb as an Irish tasting note, but you take the core note, but whereas this is, more spice, but also richer. This is more tart, more puckering, definitely going that way in the notes for me. So if you like that little bring in the cheeks kind of thing, this has that a lot more for me. So the final sample that I have to share with you guys today is this green spot, but finished in Quails Gate Pinot Noir cask. Quails Gate, of course, is a BC winery, so it feels like it's a little closer to home. I'm over here in Alberta. So I'm curious to see what a Pinot Noir finish. Again, like all of these, I believe they're natural color, but certainly they're non-chill filtered, and they're all at 46%. So it's really quite nice, Sean, for sharing these samples so I can kind of do a side-by-side. So this is the Quails Gate Pinot Noir finish. And there is a time on this. I'll put it down below. If this is 16, that was 12, or it's the other way around. I can't recall. Let's try this one on the nose. So this one across these, markedly sweeter than any other one. The Zinfandel continues to be a little tart. This one, I almost got a little baking spices. Like it almost took me into a baked apple, which I wasn't getting earlier. Interesting. This is sweet. Yep. This is light cherry maraschino. Might even get some berries in here. Some sweeter, almost like not quite as sweet as strawberry, but we're going in that direction. Let's try it on the palate. Sláinte. So that continued into a sweet berry, but now it is a little spicy. A little bit of peppering in there, a little bit more wood structure. Maybe I'd dial it back to a raspberry. Better try another sip. Yeah, this one actually is a little hotter. So now when I'm saying spicing, this one brings up a little heat, little full palate, tongue excitement, spice, and heat with more sweet berries. So all of these are really excellent. All of them have, for me, a little bit of, barley, a little bit of grain, a little bit of nuttiness that I get in unmalted barley. But if I were to try just in this sitting to give a sense of where my palate is, it's always just my palate. And each of us will have different experiences. It's just as we share food together, some have favorites and some, don't like food the same way. Whiskey really is that. So we should be proud of the whiskey we enjoy. And I like to hear the conversation. If I walk back through this line, right now, my favorite is where I started. This Louisville Barton is the richest up here for me. It's the fullest. It's got a little more oil in it. It's got like a broader appeal. Then I'd come to the Quails Gate. The Quails Gate here is bright and fruity and light. Maybe not strawberry, but I'll stay now down with raspberry, but it's more light and fruity and bright. The Zinfandel in the middle is the one that as I edit, I'll spend a little more time with. And it's a little more puckering, a little souring, which could be quite interesting if those are some of the flavors you like. It's still got all the core fruitiness that we get in Green Spot, but just compared to these two, for me, it's ranked number 3 of some 3 excellent Irish pot still whiskeys. So thanks for joining me on the sample walkthrough. Please comment down below. Have you had any of these? Did you like them? Did you not? And what else did you get in any one of these? I'd love to hear your thoughts, because it also helps me if I get another sample, if I get a bottle of these, I actually search out for the thoughts and flavors that you share, because sometimes it's there and it needs to be triggered by a word or two that you share along. Thanks for joining me. Hope you guys have a fantastic week.